Mr. Bush, there's been a lot of controversy about the publication of the secret report of the House Intelligence Committee, which the House of Representatives voted to keep secret. I'd like to ask you, is there any damage that has resulted from the publication of that report? Can you tell us any specific instance of damage to national security by the people knowing what was in that report?
Well, there are certain things in there, but if I told you those specifics, that would highlight those and make things worse. But yes, there are certain things in there that the intelligence community feel is damaging to the national security. But the fundamental question is, the Congress overwhelmingly voted by almost 2-to-1 that that report not be made public, and the report was made public without fulfilling the contract that the Congress had with the President. And in my lexicon, that's just plain wrong. But that's a matter now for the Congress to determine, not the intelligence community.
Well, Mr. Bush, I'd like to return to the idea of what kind of damage was done. Certainly the Russians are smart enough to know what's in the report that they'd like to find out. The question is of national security. Are you defining national security to mean the reputation and prestige of the CIA?
Well, listen, come to think of it, I could make a case for that being important to national security. But I think there are many more specifics that, if I dwelt on them, would simply show the concern we feel about them, and we'll pass them along to the proper authorities, but I'm not going to do it here, or I'll be practicing the very thing I'm condemning in others.
Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Bush, you spoke of the issue in Angola as being one of demonstrating the national will. Strikes me as an odd concept that we should demonstrate it in secret. And really, the problem that Angola poses, it seems to me, is whether we should undertake a major foreign policy initiative going into a whole new area of the world in secret. Don't we usually, haven't we since 200 years ago, demonstrated our national will by doing things in the open? That big a thing.
I can't totally argue with your point. I think it's a very, very valid observation, and I can't say that in retrospect that what you're suggesting about open debate on it would be wrong. What I am saying, though, is when we undertake something and we represent to others we're undertaking it, they're going to be watching to see if we have the follow-through, if we have the will. But I think many instances, frankly, I think you'll find less use of covert activity. I think there's an awareness now that it's much better to approve things in public. But I'll say this, that somewhere in between sending a battalion of Marines into some place and doing nothing, you need to retain a covert capability. If, to the degree my judgment counts on covert, we're going to be very, very careful in the future. But to the degree some say, should we have covert at all or not, I say yes, this country must retain a flexible and a strong covert capability.
Mr. Bush, a few moments ago you said that we have to rely for controlling abuses not on law, in effect, but on better oversight by the executive itself or Congress. Now, the President has proposed something called an oversight board of 3 distinguished gentlemen. Without being unkind, I want to say that they're rather elderly, that they're part-time, and I just wonder whether you seriously think that such civilians can keep abreast of all the things that may go wrong, or that you've just told us a little earlier did go wrong.
Well, let me go back and say that I hope I didn't come down saying I don't think you need any law. I hope that this executive order and then the requests for legislation that have gone forward from the President, say in the field of assassination, I hope that will be passed. So, yes, we need law, but certainly you need, inside the executive branch, some machinery. I can't accept the, in this day of discrimination, this age discrimination, because a fellow like Mr. Murphy is a very able person, and I don't think you intended that. But I would say that this machinery, where the inspectors general and the general counsel and individuals are encouraged, without going to the director, say, someone in the CIA, inspector general, to go direct to the oversight board, is a good kind of machinery to have available. And you couple that with more oversight from the Congress, and we're moving towards responsibility on the part of people like ourselves, the CIA.
Mr. Bush, on law, you mentioned the one example where the President has proposed a law to limit covert actions. That's on assassinations. I wonder whether you would favor any other limit. For example, on September 15, 1970, President Nixon instructed one of your predecessors to encourage a military coup against the democratic system of another country, Chile. If someone said that to you now, ordered you to do that, would you do it? How do you feel about that?
I'll tell you why I wouldn't say it is because under the President's own order, this double tracking that became referred to is eliminated by much more formalized action of the old 40 committee, the Special Operations Committee. Now, nobody can say, oh, I wasn't there, I got a phone call. Everybody sits around and makes a decision of this nature. But, and the assassination thing has been ruled out by law. So I would, and also, Mr. Lewis, you come back in the final analysis to judgment, to integrity, and you can't really define in a code of law everything that's going to guarantee perfection. And I respect the attempt that's been made to try to eliminate abuse. And yet if you say, are you guaranteeing there will be no abuse? I couldn't say it in this field or any other field by law.
We have just about 2 minutes. Mr. Noyes.
Mr. Bush, what do you think the chances are that Congress will enact some kind of legislation that subjects itself to criminal sanctions in the case of divulging official secrets?
I think there are two chances, slim and none.
In that case, how effective do you think these secrecy
I'm not sure they
provisions
should,
are going
incidentally. I'm not sure they should under the speech and debate clause, but those are the two chances I see.
Well, in the case that we're up against now, it's the sanctions will be limited to very few people in the executive branch of government, as I understand.
Well, I understand that one of the proposals, the proposal goes to the staff of congressional people that they should be subject to penalties if they leak information. And so I think you're going to see some action. This whole secrecy thing is, and I think it's carefully drawn. But I must confess, I favor it. You see, I don't understand the concept that people should feel, out of moral outrage or anything else, the right to go peddle secret documents. Give them away or peddle them. I don't like that concept.
Mr.
If classification is wrong, let's fix the classification system.
Mr. Pincus.
One short thing, the Senate committee that's setting up its own oversight committee has said that they want the right to rest with Congress to declassify material that comes from the President. Is the President going to approve that, or is he going to limit the amount of information he gets?
I'm not sure of the administration position on that, Mr. Pincus. I don't know what they're going to do, sir.
Did you feel some disappointment, Mr. Bush, when the President ruled you out as a vice presidential candidate?
No, but I felt some disappointment. We've sat here for 30 minutes and nobody talked about the reform of the intelligence community and how I hope this machinery is going to make for better intelligence. We've talked about one other subject. But no, I didn't feel any disappointment on that. I knew, look, I didn't see any great advantage in this in accepting it. I responded to Mr. Noyes, and I don't see any politics. I rule it out. Non-politician as of now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bush, for being with us today on Meet the Press. I'll tell you about next week's guest in just a minute after this message. Next Sunday on Meet the Press, our guest will be the new Secretary of the Interior, Thomas S. Kleppe. Now, this is Bill Monroe saying goodbye for George Bush and Meet the Press.